Well, there's a lot of disinformation out there about him. I've met him in person several times and found him to be a very genteel, nice person. I didn't get any bad vibes from him, and I know that that's always the real signal. And I've been selling his book now for many years, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, Fritz Springmeier. One of the only places you can actually get it is at Infowars.com. And when I first read this a decade ago or so, I'm going to be frank with you. I'd met Fritz when he was here in Austin on local TV, down at the station, and met him at another conference event once. And I believed he believed a lot of it. But even though I snuck into Bohemian Grove and things, and I first met him right after I snuck in there, I still had trouble believing it. Since then, so much. He was the first guy I heard talking about the royal family of England not really being German, but being from Transylvania. And then, really being Arabic and all this stuff, or Sephardic. And then now that's on national news now. So just a lot of really wild stuff. And then over the years, so much of it, no matter how wild, has turned out to be true. Now, imagine Fritz. He had, I don't know how many books out, everywhere he went, selling tons of them. I know we were selling a lot. I happen to know the publisher. I knew they were selling them. He would have no reason to bomb a porno store or whatever and then rob a bank. And I remember him saying, they're breaking in my house, they're trying to set me up. I remember seeing it in the news, they'd been raiding him and stuff. And then, boom, they grabbed him, put him in jail. Now, remember, the government has a 98% conviction rate with the feds. And he's on probation. He's been in jail for many years. He's lost a lot of weight. I just saw him on Skype a minute ago. He looks better than he did just a few weeks ago in the one video I've seen of a little presentation he did. He'll be back again. But we got to be careful how much he gets into today. But he's agreed. What he wants to talk about is who he really is versus the lies of places like Wikipedia, and what happened to him, what he can say about prison, and where he sees the world, 7-8 years after being incarcerated. But they can do this to anybody. They can plant drugs on yours truly, or put horrible things on my computer, or, God forbid, kill my family and say I did it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff the globalists have been caught doing. Operation Northwoods talks about how to frame Americans for bombings that the Pentagon carries out. And frame-ups are legend. Now with DNA, we know about a third of people on death row are innocent. And we learn, there was a case in Texas I saw a few weeks ago where the prosecutor for 20 years knew the person was innocent and knew who did it, but didn't care. It was about their career. They'll even put people with no criminal record like Fritz in jail. Usually they like to set somebody up who's already got a record, like people believe it. Very, very frightening. And so Fritz Springmeier joins us via video Skype. Fritz, for people that don't know who you are, a lot of people that have been into the conspiracy, into reality, they, of course, know who you are. Over the years, I've said, they've said, where's Fritz Springmeier? Where's Fritz Springmeier? Where's Fritz Springmeier? Or why don't you get his wife on? And we've tried, as you know, many times to get her on. But she obviously couldn't because she didn't want him to do stuff to you in jail. Now you've been out a while. But obviously, even Free Ricky Ross, who started speaking out against government drug dealing, now they're trying to throw him back in jail. So I want you to be very careful here today. We appreciate you giving us the first big interview that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong. Good to have you here, Fritz. Tell us who you are, a brief snapshot of your life. I know they said you weren't a West Point graduate. I actually went and looked it up in their rolls. There's your photo. There you are. But the point is, they've really attacked you. You hit some things that really scared them. Was it the Transylvanian bloodline? Is it the satanic rituals? I mean, why did they come? Well, get into who you are, what happened in prison, why they came after you think, and now what you see in the world.
Wow, that's a lot of questions. Okay, let's see what we can do with them. First, who am I? For myself, the image I have is as someone who's trying to model Christ. He's my role model, and that's all that really matters about my life, is that I be Christ-like. All the labels that the system tries to the system is labeling people right now, and their computer programs carry these labels. Like, for instance, 2/3 of the blacks in major cities are labeled as affiliates of gangs or gang members, you know. And so there's all kinds of labels that have been slapped on me, but the only label that I would want to be identified with is somebody who's trying to follow Christ. My life's been unusual. My father had the goal of helping save the world. He was an agricultural expert, and he went around the world living in many, many third world countries and trying to help them become self-sufficient. He made a career out of that. And he passed on the concept of trying to save the world to me. He said, you know, he said that if you're going to live life, when you leave it, leave the world a better place than what you found it. You know, sort of like that Boy Scout thing is when you go camping, leave the site better than what you found it. And I think I have honestly tried to do that and accomplish that to some degree. Why were they ticked off at me? I think it was a combination of a whole bunch of things that I did, but one of the things that they were really sensitive about was the mind control, the trauma-based mind control. You'll notice that I put out 3 books on it with about 40 pages of the actual codes that they use on the slaves. And once you have read those books and you're familiar with the codes, you can sit there and watch television and see them manipulating these total mind-controlled slaves left and right all around us. And people are constantly telling me that, you know, after they got in touch with my information, now they realize what's going on around them. Another thing, as far as
that's the book, How to Create a Totally Undetectable Mind Control Slave, which now they admit everything on TV is layers of programming depending on how programmed you are, and just someone watching TV since they were a small child, they are under a form of mind control, and actually scientifically, even BBC admits, in a lower brainwave function than we were just 50 years ago, the public in general is in a trance.
Yes, people sit in front of their televisions in a trance. In a sense, they're almost worshiping that altar, their television altar. So true, what you just said. And of course, your listeners have heard a lot of this. So, you know, I'm not telling them probably anything that they're not already familiar with. But
you were a trailblazer. How did you discover all that? So that made them really angry at you.
Yes, I kind of bumped into the whole thing. I view myself as a historian, not as a conspiracy theorist. And I was doing a massive amount of research into the elite, you know, because we are now a government of the power elite, by the power elite, and for the power elite. And I was researching them to expose them, and I had the privilege of meeting 4 people that had been teamed up in the Illuminati to be a 4-person team that were trying to get out. And they pointed me in the right direction on a lot of things. I had to do most of the research myself, but because they pointed me in the right direction, it really helped me. And then that's how I got into the mind control.
By the way, just a segue, I ran into a famous person a few weeks ago and had dinner with them, and they point blank told me about Illuminati rituals and Hellfire Club and stuff, but then said, I'm not going to talk about that on your show, maybe sometime. So the point is, we know these things existed and do exist, but I mean, you're sitting there having dinner with a well-known famous person, and they're just point blank telling you all about it. It's just incredible. And to find out that most of the people that are part of Oxford in any of the elite clubs are actually taken to the caves, engage in rituals. I mean, it's just so widespread. You know, when I grew up in Dallas, people tried to recruit me into, and I'm talking about with wealthy people, into occultic stuff. This stuff is rampant.
Yes, it is. It's everywhere. And once once you're familiar with what it looks like and smells like, you see it everywhere. I've become almost numb to it. I walk around and I see it all around me, and it doesn't even register hardly with me that what's going on, because I've just seen it for so many years and been able to recognize it for what it is.
Incredible. Okay, we're going to break in a moment, but this is just amazing. Continue in just 1 minute before we get back into what are some of the other things they got mad at you for and then clearly set you up. I want to talk about some of how you were set up. It's just incredible.
Well, you know, when I started working with these 4 people, I was trying to help them leave. And when you're in the Illuminati, you don't leave. It's like being an intelligence agent. When you enter, like, you know, if you entered the GRU, the KGB or whatever, they told you, you know, you don't leave our organization. Well, you don't leave the Illuminati. And that was what I was trying to help quite a few people do. And to the extent of actually giving away addresses and names and everything of people that were in the lives of the people I was trying to rescue. I exposed an entire Illuminati community in Bend, Oregon, and they all moved out. They sold their houses and moved out to different locations.
So you were like Van Helsing. Stay there, Fritz. You were like Van Helsing exposing them, these psychic vampires, so they wanted to punish you and put you under the jail. Let's come back and talk about this on the other side with Fritz Springmeier, author of Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Stay with us. Okay, going back to Fritz Springmeier with us for the rest of the hour, maybe a little bit in the next, joining us via video Skype. Fritz, you were getting to the point of running these guys out of the community. And I remember you were doing it. The cops were raiding your house, quote, for marijuana, finding nothing, then saying on the news, we found extremist material. Well, of course, you were always in your talks showing different groups and how they controlled them. And, you know, you're a researcher. So, I mean, they could come to my house and find Mein Kampf and say he had a Hitler book. I mean, you know, they could go to a Jewish rabbi's house and find that and say he's a Nazi, I guess. So you were warning people. You said they're getting ready to set me up. Why on earth would you then go rob a bank? And then they used all these disreputable people to do this to you. Briefly, tell folks about how you were set up.
They bribed 3 real criminals. When I was initially indicted and brought before a federal judge, Judge Brown, she honestly said, and she told this straight to the DA, she said, I'm going to release this man until trial because there is absolutely no evidence against him, and there never was. And the judge kept saying, the judge that presided over my trial, he kept saying like it was some kind of a mantra. He said, he kept telling everybody in the courtroom, circumstantial evidence can be used to prove anything. Well, circumstantial evidence is like I went to the mall and I saw Santa Claus. I saw him on television. I saw a book about him. Therefore, Santa Claus exists, you know. So using bribe testimony.
Or I say I went to Scotland. Or I say I went to Scotland and I saw the Loch Ness Monster with no proof.
Exactly. And that's what they hung me with. Absolutely no evidence, with bribe testimony that didn't even mean anything. And it's pretty startling. But today, juries are going to be looking at what the DA is doing, and they're going to, obviously my jury, if it was sincerely looking at the issues, must have said, well, why is the government going to all this trouble if he's not guilty? You know, because if they looked at at what was actually presented in the courtroom, there was nothing really presented. Now, like,
and by the way, I looked into your case. I looked into your case when I called, when this was all starting. You weren't there, but your wife was. And it was like, oh, he's not worried. This is all just another attempted setup, because you knew it was ridiculous and you knew the first judge had laughed it out. But they didn't care, because a lot of these juries now, they fixate on groveling to the power structure and they enjoy putting innocent people in jail. I'm telling you, they're sickos.
Yeah. Well, and then I have to wonder if it was really a sincere jury. It certainly wasn't a jury of my peers. The type of people that were when we did voir dire, the type of people that were available to choose from were definitely people that were pro-establishment. And to give you just one example of many, one guy had been a lifetime submariner. Now, if you live on a submarine your entire life, you're going to be someone who follows commands, believes in the system, blah, blah, blah. You didn't see people that were coming out of the ghetto. You didn't see any, the entire group of people that were there were white. There was no minorities in the jury pool to pick from. Personally, I would have rather had some minorities that had a little distrust of the government. Yeah, your question about prisons was good, and let's maybe address that for a little bit, because a lot of your listeners may eventually during their life face something like that, because we're coming into some really difficult times. When I was a teenager...
Well, Fritz, I'm sorry. That was a short segment. You'll have a long segment, uninterrupted, straight ahead. We'll start at that point when we come back. You're 7-8 years behind the gulag wire, and I see you've lost a lot of weight, but your spirit's still there on the other side. Political prisoner Fritz Springmeier. Now, going back to political prisoner Fritz Springmeier, you were talking about, hey, I've been on the other side. Was it 7 or 8 years? And you need to know what it's like, because a lot of you are probably going to be going there as well. We have the biggest prison population in the world. They're setting up a martial law internal checkpoint grid with federal goon forces. They're training neighbors to spy on each other, Jumbotron saying don't trust your neighbor. It's like a dystopic film, sci-fi horror movie. 1984 meets Stephen King's The Running Man, meets Brave New World, meets The Island of Dr. Moreau. So please continue, Fritz Springmeier.
Yes, pulling together several of your questions, it would be appropriate to talk about prison. One of the benefits, one of the good things that my father had taught me was to think for myself. And so as a teenager, I knew that at some point I was going to bump into the system. There was a little plaque I put up on my door. It said, when freedom fails, good men rot in filthy jails. And I told my sister, I said, because I think for myself and I'm willing to do things about what I see, at some point I'm going to end up in prison. I knew that I was just going to bump heads with this established system at some point in my life, and eventually it happened. Wisdom is knowing what to do, skill is knowing how to do it, and virtue is actually doing it. And some of your listeners out there are actually going to have the virtue of getting out there and doing things. And when they do, you know, when freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails. That's where a lot of them eventually will end up. So what happens when you go to prison or jail? Well, two things. One is you're going to suffer loss, and the other one is you're going to wait. And you'll be lucky if you don't lose everything. And how long you wait, you don't know, because generally when you first get incarcerated, they don't tell you how long you're going to be in there, and you haven't been sentenced. So as far as you know, you could be in there the rest of your life or die in there. So even a week in a jail can seem like a very long time. So that's what I would forewarn people about, because a lot of people, when they get into jail, they start stressing that they're losing stuff, and they start stressing that they don't know how much time they're going to be incarcerated. Let it go. You know, it is what it is, and make the best of it and accept it. The best thing that can happen to get you through the time is to accept the reality that you've been incarcerated and start making the best of it. If you mentally fight the thing, you just go through paroxysms of torture. Accept what's happened and then move on in life and make the best of it. And that's what we have to do. We have to take the good with the bad and make the best of it, like you've been trying to do with your show, you know. I really love a lot of the things that you've done. I like your T-shirts that you're advertising, because I think part of the solution is we've got to laugh. You know, I mean, you've got tyranny, legalized freedom T-shirt. You know, that's humorous. That's part of the answer. You know, I hope your listeners out there buy these kind of things and walk around and, you know, get some chuckles.
Well, I think what you're getting at here is don't let it crush your spirit and use it as a learning experience and feel sorry for the people that are in there feeding you GMO and soy-based food and enjoying your pain because they are hurting themselves, hurting their soul, literally tying heavy weights and chains around themselves in God's eyes and really weighting themselves down for the drop into Hades. But it's one thing to imagine it. You have lived through it, Fritz. You lost a lot of weight. Why is that?
Well, halfway through my bit, I started exercising, and it was intentional to lose the weight. I'm healthier. I've been exercising for the last 5 years on a regular basis. So I'm actually healthier than when I went in. That's one of the advantages. Like I say, I took the time that I had to do, and I used it for good. While I was in there, I spent 5 years teaching GED. I got high school GED diplomas for a lot of the guys. I was using my time productively. And that's one of the things that I want to encourage people to do is you know, we've just got to take the cards that we've been dealt and do the best we can with them. And of course, they're trying to deal us the worst cards that they can. But hey, it's not over until the fat lady in God's choir sings, you know?
Well said. So, no, please continue.
Well, I think you and some of the other people out there that are doing what you're doing are examples of what needs to be done, and that is, you know, you're trying to make people self-sufficient, get people to think for themselves, get people to quit being a sheeple and think for themselves. And if we can win the hearts of the people, their minds and bodies will follow along.
Do you forgive the people that lied about you and persecuted you and put you in jail for how many years was it, Fritz?
Well, I was given a 111-month sentence, and I did 8 years actual time. And then about a year ago, I was released. I was out for 3 months, and then for no reason, at least they never gave me any specific reason, they just rearrested me and held me on a marshal's hold under investigation for another 2.5 months and never charged me with anything. Like I say, never gave me a specific reason as to why they put me back into prison. And then they released me towards the end of March. So now I've been out for, approximately 7 months this last time.
And we've been contacting you, trying to get you on. You said, I'm not ready yet. Why did you email us last week and say you were ready now?
It's been a year, and I feel more comfortable. It was like, maybe making the analogy, I wanted to sail the boat a little ways before I started rocking the boat.
Exactly. You wanted to get the feel of the boat first.
Yes.
All right, let me read some quotes here. I think it was Johann Goethe that said it, because it's got 2 quotes there and his name under it, and it's at a university, but we're checking it. Correct us if we're wrong. He said both, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they are free. That's a take off the Bible of, you know, has eyes but still cannot see. Here's another one. No one escapes when freedom fails. The best men rot in filthy jails, and those that cried, appease, appease, are hanged by those they tried to please. So the point is, you also get put in prison fighting tyranny, but if you don't fight tyranny, they actually kill you.
Yes. one of my favorite quotes is Sam Adams said, "If you love wealth better than liberty, crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen." Yeah, that last part, "may posterity forget that you were our countrymen." That
crouch
really,
down and lick the hand that feeds you.
Yeah. That tickles my funny bone there.
Well, Fritz, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You seem kind of tired a little bit in the one video I've seen where you gave a speech to a small group of people. But now you seem even more energized than when the few times I met you and watched you a decade ago. You seem to have actually been made stronger by this persecution.
Yes, I have been. I've like I say, I used the time productively and worked on myself. One of the things that happened during the 1990s, which people really can't appreciate, but I gave so much of myself. I opened my house up to victims of Illuminati mind control. I had people coming in from around the world trying to get deprogrammed. I was doing research around the clock. I was writing. I was traveling. I was sleeping very little, and I was donating my life to everybody else. And when I went to prison, I finally got some time to work on myself. And so it was like a vacation. I could work. Yeah, I could work on myself, get my health back, do exercise, all the things that I had neglected while I was trying to help everyone else.
So no weapon formed against you will prosper.
That's right, brother.
All right, continuing here. And by the way, folks, I've looked at the case. 100% set up. I mean, that shows you how criminal this government is. And people ask, well, then why am I still on air? Well, I've been physically attacked. I've been demonized 7 ways to Sunday. National TV, grassroots, you name it, total COINTELPRO. I've been threatened, and I've just put it in God's hands. That's A, your prayers, B. But C, I'm so high profile, from their view, they don't want to highlight everything I've said, put 1,000 exclamation points behind it. But I'm not stupid. I know that if God wasn't there protecting me, I would already be dead. But it's kind of like the sports analogy. They tell you, go 110% every play in football, or you've got a much better chance of getting hurt. It's when you don't go 100% or 110%, you get hurt every time. And my view is, look, I'm in, point of no return. It's actually a good feeling. Commit to it. Whatever happens, you know what? I tried to be the best person I could, and that's why I'm still alive and still here. And it's a fight between good and evil. There's a lot of good people in government who are compartmentalized, and some of us have got to put our nails on the chalkboard to wake them up. Because as Mark Twain said in the beginning, a patriot's a scarce man, hated and feared and scorned and brave. But in time when the cause succeeds, the timid join him, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. We've got to hit that barbed wire. Fritz, I want your perspective on this, and the time we have hit a few other issues. We'll have you back soon while you're here. But why do you think I'm still alive and still around? Because I 100% know I'm for real. I 100% know we're bearing good fruits overall. I'm not perfect. I look back sometimes in horror at what I've done. Why do you think I'm still around?
They don't think that we're going to make that big of a difference. I used to ask myself why they made attempts on my life, but you know, and I blame God for having rescued me through those attempts. But then why didn't they continue to persist? I think because they, on the one hand, they're like, okay, let these people do what they want. You know, and I'll be frank here, you know, when people come online and go to your site, they're identifying themselves to the New World Order, that they're opposed to the New World Order, you know? So they've been tagged, they've identified themselves as...
I agree, they're using it as a gauge, and so that's why I say, good, put my name on the list, the top of the list. You know, this is about us coming out in the light and saying, so what if vampires put me on a list? We're putting you guys on list. We've got to get past their intimidation.
Right, exactly. They're so prideful, and they view that their power as being almost godlike, absolute, that they really question whether we can do anything, and in their eyes, we do them, you know, by identifying who's against them, we help them out. And they think that they can squash us like bugs whenever they absolutely need to.
I have noticed that's the one big weakness of the Illuminati, is they are insanely arrogant on power trips, almost to the point of being kind of mentally retarded. I mean, they really are pathetic, because I see how the system destroys its own people. I've seen, just from my own dead reckoning, that statistically it's more dangerous to serve them than to fight them. Have you noticed that anomaly?
Oh, your words are 100% correct. That's why these people wanted out of the Illuminati. It's not a fun place. You might think, well, you know, because I've bumped into some people that have told me, Fritz, I'm watching this thing from the sidelines, and I want to be on the winning team, and it looks like the Illuminati is going to be the winning team, so that's who I'm going to go with. Yeah, no. They don't realize the pain and what you give up to be on that side.
Exactly. It's such a scam. Stay there. Let's talk about that. I mean, you don't make a deal with the devil, folks, even if you think you got a deal. It's not. Now, going back to Fritz here, political prisoner, author of Bloodlines, the Illuminati, available at Infowars.com. Before Fritz leaves us, we'll also get an address if folks want to get the book directly from him and his family. But Fritz, this is a short segment, as you know, one more little short one, and we'll probably end it there. But I almost don't want to, because we got you now, and I've been wanting to talk to you for 8 years. You were bringing up the fact of this isn't even a deal at all. People think they have a choice. Join the quote, winning New World Order, and get some temporary money, or whatever, or join good and be persecuted. I've actually studying this. You're a lot better off joining good. There's this illusion. You have to have the courage to first do it. You'll get attacked up front. But when you almost, like you've done, you've learned the secret, and it's what I've learned. And I hate to even say this because it feels sick, but it's not. I was never sadomasochistic, and I don't mean like I like being hit and stuff. I don't. But when I get persecuted and lied about, it's like somehow God in my brain turns it around and makes it almost enjoyable, even though it's hurting very badly. What do you think that phenomenon is? And if it sounds like you've experienced that as well, Fritz. Well,
when you know you're right, you know you're right. And if everybody else wants to be a lemming and run off the cliff, so that's their problem. You know what you're doing, and you have. When we go through our day-to-day life, if we just have a 9-to-5 job where we just sell our soul to the system, and we're dead inside, you know, versus someone like you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing is right. You have a joy, and that joy brings life to you. You know, anybody who watches you can see that you have a lot of life, and versus somebody who's physically alive, but their soul's been killed. And you can't replace that. You know, you're not going to throw away what you have to be a dead person that's just like a zombie walking through their little system. That's how I would describe
Fritz, that's it. Listen, I am so fulfilled with this knowledge, and it's not even fear anymore, that people say they're unfulfilled. Do you ever experience it where you're so fulfilled with understanding and things that it's almost like it's so good you can't stand it? The joy.
Sure.
Stay there. Got a break. I want to get your, this is incredible. Fritz, I'm looking forward to having you with us Thursday. So you were getting into the joy of knowing you're right, knowing you're on target, and knowing that you're not part of the darkness. Because once you realize just how dark that darkness really is, once you realize just what it is, it's like, my goodness. You know, they sell this image of the devil as the devil cheerleader, Marilyn Monroe, all hot and sizzling, and it's inviting. But really, it's not. It's desiccating. It's soul-sucking. And as you said, these are the servants of this are zombies bought for nothing out of money made up out of nothing.
Exactly. Fool's gold, counterfeit money. The devil pays in counterfeit money. Are you able to still hear me?
Yes, I'm just listening to you. We've got 3 or 4 minutes left. Genetic engineering. They're coming out with mosquitoes they're going to release to forcibly inoculate us. Cross splicing. What concerns you most about the New World Order's master plan?
Wow, where to begin? It's just death. The whole program is death. You know, all aspects of it. It's just to kill everything that's good and decent, and then this tampering, trying to be God, tampering with genetics, and we already have plenty of examples out there of horror stories of when they've tried to tamper with nature. You would think that people would be up in arms because of all of the bad examples that are already there. What concerns me most? Wow. Well, right now, the biggest issue that's facing us on our plates is, they're going to crash the economy, and there's going to be a lot of suffering. And I don't like to see people suffer. And I hope that people will mitigate that by doing things where they're more self-reliant. But I know that a lot of people won't be able to or won't do it because they're walking in ignorance. And so there's just going to be a lot of suffering. I'm already seeing it all around me. And right now, in the immediate future, that's my immediate concern is all the suffering that people are going to go through economically. We've got, further on down the road, we've got even more mean, nasty things planned for the world.
Well, Fritz, I've waited 8 years to talk to you. And so, you know what? Even though I've got stuff piled mountains high, do one more 12, 13-minute segment with us to talk about the Illuminati master plan. The program is death. The back of my film Endgame says they want you dead. But, what is their program, Fritz? Death. I mean, that is it. They've got all these intellectual excuses mid-level for their technicians that don't see all of it or even a large part of the system. But when you get back away from it and actually see from an Illuminist viewpoint by study and reverse engineering, the program is death. It's a giant system to trick even their own servants into setting up a giant kill machine. And at the very highest level, the Illuminists, some of them actually know that and are into this nihilistic death thing. And I've actually quoted some of those globalists and transhumanists saying that they want to blow the planet up just because they want to go on willing. I'm sure you've seen those quotes. I mean, this is literally death. They ask, what is the end game? Death. It's like James Bond saying in, was it Goldfinger? He says, do you expect me to talk? And he goes, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. I mean, it's death. People say, what's the goal? It's death. Where are they going? Death. What do they want for the world? Death. What are they into? Death. What's their end game? Destruction. Kill, steal, and destroy. Kill, steal, and destroy. They only want to steal and destroy because they want to kill you. Death, death, scorched earth, burnout planet, dead planet, extinct planet. Fritz Springmeier is our guest. Stay with us. We're going to do one more segment as he looks forward with what the Illuminati master plan is. We've talked about him now. Now, in the little bit of time we've got left here until you come back, people obviously wanted to hear about what happened to you, what went on. It's a great window into our society, Fritz Springmeier. But in the 12 minutes we've got left, now 11 minutes, I want to just throw issues out at you and get a quick response in a minute or so to get your view and your take on things. But first, and if you don't have it in front of you, I forgot to tell you, find it and we'll have it at the end. But is there an address where folks can write and get Bloodlines of the Illuminati or your other books? How do people, is there an email? How do folks contact you?
They can contact me at springmeiermessages@hotmail.com. And they need to spell my name Springmeier Springmeier, and then messages@hotmail.com. That will, and then of course, the Bloodlines book is available from you. So I recommend that they buy it from you, actually.
Well, fantastic. Again, folks can go to the Springmeier site right there. And it's very important to support you, obviously, so that you can defend yourself again if they try to set you up. We need to get you back on that original work you were doing. But hopefully, then my dad always told me, he's a really smart guy. He said, son, even before I got on radio, he said, when you go up against big crooks, they tend to just ignore you. But if you go up against little local corrupt people, or little criminals, that's who you actually got to worry about. And I think the fact that you were right in the middle of a nest of them is why they set you up and did that. But moving on along here, let me just throw issues out at you. Playing God, genetic engineering, we already covered that to a certain extent. What about Al-Qaeda, 9/11, the mind control of 9/11, the system now putting Al-Qaeda in charge in Libya, in Egypt, in trying in Syria? I mean, in plain view, saying we're taking your rights because of Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda is trying to attack you, so we're going to put them in charge. What's the whole Al-Qaeda, Saudi Arabian situation and the whole New World Order constellation?
Well, we're working on a number of agendas there, but two agendas, and they tie into what you were saying about death. Two of the agendas is we're working towards a world war, and we're also working towards a world religion where they're going to destroy all fundamental religions and replace it with their world religion, which will be a satanic-based religion. And so Christianity and fundamental Islam are being discredited, and you have a lot of fundamentalists that are being exploited by the media to make people reject Christianity and Islam. So we got that agenda going. We've got also the process where they're bringing all these elements together to create another world war. You know, all of these agendas, like you were saying, you summed it all up by just saying it's death. One of the things that means so much to us are our children. And one of their agendas is to take away the right to have children. You'll notice the process. And when I was in counseling in college, my professor said, if you're looking at a situation, don't look at the details, because the details may be contradictory, but look at the process. You'll see that there's a process to create a world war. You'll see there's a process to discredit Christianity. You'll see there's a process here in many, many different ways to discredit the idea of people having children. And at some point, the government will be able to take that over, produce children in factories, and then, of course, we'll have the mind control full blown. Then they can produce whatever they want. You know, if they need a certain model soldier, they'll produce it. If they need a certain model slave labor, they'll produce that slave. They'll be under that type of mind control. That's the program. You know, like a computer. Basically, what they'll be creating is human robots. And they've been doing that already, so that they've already have the ability to do that. It's just that there's still some of us around that are free men, that think with are still free thinkers.
Well, that's one of their mind control programs, is to tell us we don't have free will, we're not allowed to have our own moral beliefs, but they have theirs. They all know it's about free will. They want to tell you there's no free will, and they admit the military with the drills and the codes and the files, it's all about making you do something over and over again until it just becomes automatic. That's what TSA, always wanting more, power. Again, it's about training us, breaking our will. What's the time frame, Fritz, on all this? I mean, everybody can feel it. We're going into an incredible time. Why are people in their gut, not just intellectually, so upset right now? What's coming?
Wow, the time frame that I had been originally given by people that had listened in to planning sessions isn't working out. So I think that they went from the quick plan to some long range plan. And so I'm going to say, like, within 10 or 20 years, we should see the realization of pretty much of all the agenda. I would expect within 10 years that we will have had some kind of a major cataclysmic world war. I would say the United States as we know it will not exist in 20 years. You won't recognize whatever is here politically in relationship to the United States we understand.
Bingo. Let me stop you right there because George Bush, the UN, they were going to have the capping in 2000 of the pyramid, but they said, no, the great work is not complete. I watched on PBS an open public satanic Illuminati ritual broadcast worldwide with George Herbert Walker Bush there. And they said the great work is not done. They had a long-term accelerated program. The good news is it's not working the way they wanted. They're able to devastate certain groups, but it's actually having the opposite effect, and that it's waking up a lot of people. They've actually said they've had to switch their program. And so can we get a reprieve like Nineveh? I'm not saying it'd be 100 years, but in a way it looks like we've gotten a reprieve for a while to have a chance to wake more people up so that their spirits can be in the right place.
Yes, God. I blame God for that. We can sum up all of these different factors that brought this reprieve up in just the word divine intervention. Yeah, we have. They've switched from the fast track to the slow track. But they still intend to carry out their global tyranny and their global slavery and all these other agendas that you've been exposing. But yeah, you're right. What you said was so well said. I couldn't have said it better.
And again, it seems like a fast track right now, but it would be even faster. Look, there's also a lot of good people left on the planet. And God, the universe, whatever people want to call it, is giving people a chance to get out there and warn people, because there is a universal law. That's why the Illuminati follows it. Like the vampire has to get permission to come in your house. For this system to come through, everybody's got to have a chance to hear the truth repeatedly. Do you agree with that universal law? Yeah, I agree with that.
Well said. God's given this planet a respectable chance, and we're not going to be able to face him on Judgment Day and say, well, I didn't know, or I didn't have a chance, because the chance has been offered.
And of course, they say it's not where you're going, it's the journey. This is the test. We really do have free will. That's why all of this has happened. I mean, God creates us, knows us before we're in our womb, but it is the free will. And people say, well, God's God. God already knows this is going to happen. It doesn't matter. It sets the system in motion, and within that is the free will. And it depends on what we do, much of the course of things within that stream. God has basically foreordained. It's so complex. It's predestined, but it's not. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
You're right on. We have free will within the context of God knowing exactly what's going to happen because he's above history. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Fritz, we've only got a minute left. Anything else you'd like to add? I'm looking forward to our hour-long interview this Friday.
Oh, just encourage people to have hope. That's the big goal and the big assignment that I have now from the Lord is to get out there and give people hope. If people don't have hope, if they throw their hope away, they're not going to move forward in life. And so hopefully what's happened with me will be encouraging to people, that they will see that in spite of being dealt a bad set of cards, that you can still do something with it, and that they would be encouraged and likewise, they would get out there and do something positive with their life instead of just cursing the darkness and hiding from it.
Fritz, we're out of time. I'll say bye to you in a moment. Retransmission starts now, but it is the journey. It is the test. Do good on the test. That's the whole point, folks. Face the evil.